See her face. You get they really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
The cameras were meant to catch another royal fairy tale moment. Clean and glossy, ready for headlines. Instead, they locked onto something heavier, something tense, something clearly off. The vibe flipped fast, and you could feel it even through a screen. When Prince Harry stepped out of the black SUV in New York, his face told the story before anyone spoke. His eyes were tight, jaw clenched, shoulders stiff, like he was holding back a storm. This wasn't calm silence. This was pressure, the kind that builds right before someone snaps under flashing lights. For Meghan, it looked like routine mode kicked in. The smile switched on like stage lights, polished, practiced, flawless on cue.
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
She played the part perfectly, but the contrast was loud. The gap between them hit instantly, sharp enough to make people uneasy. One wrong move, one wrong breath, and the whole thing could have blown up. Then the crowd broke through the noise. Someone yelled, "Stop using our offspring," and the energy cracked wide open. That was the second everything shifted. Harry's head snapped toward the sound, anger flashing across his face for a split second.
I know my latest money-making scheme is going to be cosplaying the final night that Princess Diana died. It's truly sick.
He turned away fast, but not before grabbing Meghan's arm. Not gentle, not loving, just urgent and sharp, like someone trying to escape the moment. His lips moved, but no one heard the words. All you could hear was tension as cameras kept popping nonstop. Reporters shouted their names, but the fairy tale was already breaking apart.
He just doesn't seem to give a damn. Body language. My God, no amount of PR spin is going to deal with that.
Those smiles weren't warm or romantic. They were survival smiles. Body language. The kind you wear when things are falling apart and you know the whole world is watching. From that moment on, nothing felt staged or smooth.
See her face. You get here, mate. But on stage, when they knew everyone was filming on their mobile phones and taking pictures, it got even worse.
The prince who once pushed back against the palace now looked like a man trying to protect himself from the pressure, from the cameras, from whatever went wrong behind closed doors. They walked the red carpet side by side.
You completely see that she is shaken by this.
Maybe he is still very upset over her stunt over in Paris. I can't imagine that that didn't go unnoticed by him.
But every step stretched the invisible distance between them. What the public saw as glam, insiders quietly called a silent war. Each flash carried the same question. What flipped devotion into frustration and turned a fairy tale into friction?
The simmering tension between the duplicitous Duke and his facelift-enhanced wife. Here's the red carpet arrival.
New York City buzzed that night with sirens, flashing lenses, and sky-high expectations. This was supposed to be a comeback moment, the Duke and Duchess reclaiming their shine. The venue was glowing in gold, designed to signal a fresh start.
Hey, when you go upstairs.
And then you see her naked feet crisscrossed in front of her, like the world is at my feet. Ha ha ha. This is so fun. This is where my children's grandmother died. Good times. Let me put this.
But people inside say the energy felt off from the beginning. Staff reportedly whispered about a tense exchange in the SUV just before they arrived. One security insider claimed Harry looked ice cold. No warmth, no emotion.
Especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK, but it's safe enough for Meghan to be alone in Paris, literally engaging with the paparazzi, you say.
Meghan, according to the same source, sat stiff, adjusting her earrings in the window reflection, never looking his way. When the doors opened, cameras locked in. The entrance was supposed to be smooth. One pace, one smile, one perfect image. But it didn't go that way. Harry stepped ahead of Meghan, walking faster, eyes fixed on the carpet instead of the crowd. That didn't look confident. It looked distant.
Have you ever seen that video? No. Pull that video up.
Harry's speech was so lackluster, Tash. As you say, I think he's furious about what went on in Paris, but they couldn't cancel this event.
Insiders say this wasn't new. Weeks earlier at a private dinner, Meghan reportedly reached for Harry's hand under the table. He allegedly pulled away and whispered something short. One witness claimed that moment felt like a shift, like the warmth between them had already faded.
Our children, our two Lily, are just 6 and 4 years old. Luckily, still too young for social media, but we know that day is coming.
Body language analysts and PR experts came to a similar conclusion. What happened in New York wasn't just an awkward red carpet clip. It looked like the public reveal of something that had been building quietly for months. People close to the situation agree there's tension, but not on why. Some blame fame, others point to pressure or control.
Now, Meghan, the actress, of course, had to stick to the script. And so we had the hilarious, she's trying to talk about the need to protect children from social media, even though she's pimping out wherever she can, causing these tensions.
But one source claims the real turning point didn't even happen in America. According to them, it started in Paris, away from the spotlight. Paris looked perfect on the outside, polished, united, powerful. Tabloids framed it as their big reset moment, the night they would reclaim the narrative, every detail carefully planned.
The New York Times are finally realizing, actually, his wife might be a disaster tourist, but he is a disaster when it comes to charity, especially African charity, because he doesn't actually...
But behind the glamour, insiders suggest something very different was already unfolding. The outfits, the walk, the smiles. On the surface, it looked flawless.
Meghan shimmered in metallic gold, every step controlled.
Give a damn. For years and years and years, he used Africa because it was good for his PR.
Every glance aimed straight at the cameras. Harry followed in a classic tux, nodding toward fans behind the barricades. On paper, it looked like strength, reinvention, the former royals stepping back into global spotlight.
If I know that this is a place that my husband hates because it's where he lost his mom, I'm not going to go there.
But the illusion cracked fast. When the first wave of flashes hit, the tension showed. Even people watching live streams said they could feel it.
Harry usually introduces his wife, not last night. And my God, the look she shot him. It's like...
Meghan smiled smoothly, but Harry's expression didn't match.
You just wait till we're back at home. But I have to just say, anyone who has...
He wasn't glowing. He looked like he was pushing through it. A tight exhale slipped out. Small, but noticeable. The kind of moment media training can't fully hide.
Doubted me over the past decade about this evil woman now needs to eat some humble pie because this video designed to mentally torture her husband.
Then everything shifted. A voice cut through the noise. Stop using our offspring. The air changed instantly. Meghan's smile stiffened. Harry's jaw tightened as he turned toward the sound, then quickly toward the entrance. It didn't look like surprise. It looked personal. Seconds later, Harry reached for Meghan's arm. Not soft, not romantic, quick and urgent. Some cameras framed it as guidance, but a nearby photographer described it differently, like a silent signal to move. From that point on, the night continued, but something felt off. They posed, they waved, they hit every mark. To casual viewers, it was glamour, but to those watching closely, the connection seemed distant, controlled, careful. Replays only fueled more questions. Clips were slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. No words needed. The body language said enough. Harry's hand hung stiff at his side. His fingers twitched slightly. Each time Meghan leaned closer, her smile widened for the cameras. Meanwhile, he blinked hard, like someone trying to pull inward and stay composed under the lights. Body language experts didn't soften their opinions. One analyst described Harry's posture as defensive withdrawal, the stance of someone emotionally shutting down under pressure. And insiders say once someone hits that point, it's hard to fake warmth again. Another expert noticed something subtle but revealing. Meghan's laughter seemed slightly delayed, almost like it was timed instead of natural. It looked coordinated, but not connected, smooth, but not close. Sources say this pattern didn't start in New York. Weeks earlier, at a charity event hosted by Kevin Costner, Harry's irritation was reportedly visible even off camera. When Meghan tried to guide the conversation, witnesses claim his jaw tightened and his stare drifted cold and distant. That same look appeared again in New York, only stronger.
It doesn't work for you to shoulders back, breasts out.
Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. One stylist allegedly said a fitting ended abruptly after a disagreement about Meghan's outfit. A publicist later claimed her voice echoed sharply down a hallway, followed by a door shutting hard. Harry didn't reportedly yell. He went quiet, and insiders say silence became his new default. Online, fans noticed the shift right away.
Side-by-side photos told a different story than the captions. Harry leaned away, expression guarded. Meghan leaned in, smiling wide for the cameras. Agencies labeled the shots romantic. Longtime observers saw something else: endurance, not affection. By the end of the night, even staff weren't calling it chemistry. One producer reportedly whispered, "It felt like watching two actors share a scene they no longer believed in." And that question lingered. When did partnership turn into performance? To understand that, many say you have to rewind. Not to New York, not to California, but back to Paris, where some believe the first cracks quietly began. Front row seats, couture gowns, pure luxury. The photos screamed success. But behind those flawless images, witnesses say the energy felt cold. They moved through the same space like strangers. Harry kept his distance, eyes fixed ahead. Meghan worked the room, greeting designers with her signature smile, fully in spotlight mode. To the public, it looked glamorous. To those nearby, it felt distant. Then came the moment that changed everything. Meghan's team shared a video of her walking through the Pont del Alma tunnel, the location linked to Princess Diana's tragic death. She smiled softly at the camera, scarf wrapped neatly, calm and composed. Online, backlash came fast, but privately, sources say it hit even harder. Insiders claim Harry was deeply upset. Not loud, not explosive, just shaken. That tunnel wasn't just a landmark to him, it carried personal history. Some say he felt a line had been crossed. Meghan reportedly viewed the moment as symbolic and reflective, but to Harry, it felt different. Sources say the disagreement that followed was intense. Words were exchanged, emotions ran high. For years, Harry had defended her publicly against criticism. After Paris, insiders suggest something shifted. The protection reportedly faded. The silence between them grew heavier. From that point on, appearances seemed more structured. Smiles looked practiced. Affection appeared measured. Every event carefully planned to present unity. But observers say the connection felt less natural. After Paris, the change wasn't dramatic or explosive. It was quiet, gradual, subtle enough that many missed it at first, but strong enough that, once noticed, it was hard to ignore.
Headlights going, and try to look as bitchy as possible.
Friends say Harry didn't explode. He didn't lash out. He just went quiet. The jokes faded, the warmth cooled, the easy laughter disappeared. When people asked if he was okay, he nodded and moved on. But insiders say that silence wasn't peace, it was retreat. During planning meetings, the shift became clear. Harry reportedly stopped weighing in. Where he once challenged ideas, he now stayed neutral, eyes down, hands folded. Meghan spoke more, decided more, led the room. To outsiders, it looked like teamwork. To people inside, it felt uneven. One former advisor described it simply. He checked out. Not physically, emotionally, present but distant. And that kind of withdrawal doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly when someone feels unheard. Public appearances followed the same pattern. Harry arrived early, left quickly, avoided long conversations. Meghan remained polished, confident, camera ready. She leaned into the spotlight. He seemed to hover just outside it. In photos, they looked united. Frame by frame, the gap showed.
I just spoke to somebody that said their palace sources say perhaps the king would plan to meet with Prince Harry at the beginning of 2026. Meghan Markle has no desire to return to the UK because she knows how simply loathed she is.
Then came scheduling changes. Harry began skipping optional events, citing exhaustion or privacy. Sources say it wasn't burnout, it was avoidance. Each appearance reportedly felt heavier than the last. Behind closed doors, communication reportedly thinned. Arguments didn't explode, they stalled. Conversations ended unfinished. Meghan pushed forward with precision, every outfit planned, every appearance polished. For her, control meant stability. For him, insiders suggest, it felt like pressure. Small moments gave it away. A pause before stepping together, a delayed reaction, smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. One staff member allegedly said, they stopped moving like a unit, and once that rhythm breaks, it's hard to fake. By the time New York happened, the cracks weren't new, they were exposed. The red carpet didn't cause the fracture, it revealed it. And according to whispers close to them, it wasn't one big blow-up. It was a slow shift, different priorities, different pace.
both still smiling, both still walking forward, but no longer moving the same way. The distance between them grew louder every time the cameras clicked. By the time New York happened, some say the performance was all that remained. The laughter sounded mechanical, the eye contact looked forced, and Harry didn't seem angry anymore. That stage had passed. Observers described him as drained, not explosive, not dramatic, just quiet. And that's what caught attention. Not scandal, not shouting, just emptiness. Because when a relationship shifts into survival mode, it doesn't always collapse loudly. Sometimes it fades slowly, piece by piece.
What may have started in Paris didn't end in New York. It simply became visible. Their rhythm appeared uneven. Pauses stretched longer. Smiles seemed delayed. Conversations, at times, looked clipped and careful. Public words came out polished and precise, but the silences in between felt heavier.
She's sort of very needy, isn't she? She loves to be loved, and she hates the British people, that she'll never come back to this country because she knows people don't really want her back in this.
The image stayed flawless, the staging stayed controlled, yet something subtle felt out of sync. Small gestures stood out, a glance held too long, a delayed reaction, a touch that seemed rehearsed. Nothing dramatic on its own, but together it painted a different mood. Every appearance felt deliberate, measured, structured. Harry's voice sounded restrained, Meghan's tone steady but tight. To some viewers, it felt like dialogue in the final act of a long-running story, controlled, composed, but fragile underneath. And that's what made it compelling. Not chaos, but precision. A carefully maintained image that frame by frame seemed slightly misaligned. The more people replayed the footage, the more they focused on the quiet moments, the pauses, the glances, the unsaid words. Because sometimes what changes a story isn't what's shouted, it's what's withheld. And by the end of that night, many were left wondering, was this just pressure under bright lights, or something deeper slowly coming undone? Somewhere between performance and confession, their silence started speaking louder than their words. Maybe the smiles were once real. Maybe those early red carpets carried genuine laughter. But somewhere between the spotlight and the quiet moments off camera, something shifted. The glances grew shorter. The touches felt colder. What began as a united stand against the crown slowly looked like tension between each other. And not every story ends with drama. Some fade out softly. No press release, no explosive announcement, just distance that grows until one day they're no longer standing side by side. For some watching closely, that possibility feels closer than ever, because when affection starts to look strategic and loyalty feels rehearsed, a fairy tale doesn't always shatter. It dissolves, frame by frame, smile by smile. What happened in New York didn't look like one bad night. It looked like a mirror reflecting something deeper, a slow shift, a pattern of connection turning into positioning once the cameras dim. And that's where the conversation widens. Before the prince, there was another chapter. Meghan's first husband, Joe Giuliano, the man who married her before global fame, has reportedly spoken about why his family had doubts about the relationship. According to sources, his perspective adds another layer to the story, suggesting patterns that some believe didn't start with royalty. Supporters see ambition and resilience, critics see repetition, but one thing keeps people watching: the silence. Harry's quiet presence now feels different, not reactive, not defensive, just distant. So the real question lingers: was this love built to survive the fame surrounding it, or reshaped by it? If you've been following this story, share your thoughts below. And if this breakdown made you see the timeline differently, subscribe and stay tuned for the next deep dive.